Hey guys, today I'll be walking you through on how to do simple encryption CCC 2004 J4. So here's the question. One of the simplest ways of coding a message is to do a letter shift. For example, if you shift the letters in the original message by 5, then A in your original message becomes the coded message because A, B, C, D, E, F, that's 5, and so on. To decode the message, you simply need to shift back by the same number. A slightly trickier encryption uses a keyword to determine the amount of shift. For example, we're using the keyword ACT. To encode the message, let's say you want to encode banana and peel, you need to first remove everything but the alphabetic characters. So you remove the and, you remove the spaces, and then you form a message into a block that has the same width as the keyword. So here our keyword is ACT. So as you can see, this would be a block. And then after you form the message in the block, you get this. Now the message is encoded using a letter shift. So if you had A, then the letters in that column will not be shifted because A is the first letter in that alphabet. However, if the letter is a B, then it would shift by 1. If it was C, it would shift by 2, and so on. And since T is the 20th letter of the alphabet, it would shift by 19. So the encoded message after you shift everything would be as follows. You will write a program that will accept a keyword and a string to be encoded. The keyword will never have more than 6 characters. The message will always be given in all uppercase letters, so we don't have to worry about that. The first line of input consists the keyword, and then right after that, the message we want to encode. So let's get started. So what we're going to first do is we're going to create a function called process message. And this is going to just take 2 inputs, our key and our message, and it's going to do everything for us. First off, we want to strip the message of everything except the letter. So we're going to iterate over characters. And we're going to check if a character is a letter using the .is_alpha function. And now we have our new message. What I want to do right now is I want to create a list called box, which is going to act as our box that helps organize everything, and each row in the box will be represented through a sublist, which is just a list in a list. Now, since we have to count the number of letters we're at because we have to keep track of it, otherwise we'll keep going once we reach to the end, and that's going to result in an error. We're going to have to create a counter, and now we're going to create a loop. We have to be able to easily break out of this loop. We're going to have a lot of nested loops inside, so we're going to add a variable called breaker, and while not breaker, we're going to initialize another list called temporary box. And what this does is this is going to store all our letters as we keep going, and once it's full of a row, it's going to add it to our original message. Through everything, so for x in range length of key, we have to check if our character is the last character in that message. If it is not, we're going to add that character to temporary box, so temporary box.append message of counter. We're going to increase counter by 1, but if it is the last message, we're going to set the breaker to true, and we're going to break out of this loop. Once we reach the end of while not breaker, it's going to see that breaker is true and it's going to break out. But before we do that, we still have to add the temporary box, even if it is not full. And what we have right now is we have a thing that takes the message and it sorts it in so what we have right now is we're going to take so what we have right now is we have a function that takes a message, it strips it of everything except letters, and it's going to sort it in a box. Now we're going to check if this works by temporarily making a line that returns the box.
1 minute later.
So what we have right now is an organized list of all of it with different sublists containing each row, and this is the first step. Now we can easily access every letter in our message. Okay, so once we checked it, we can delete everything that checks it, and we're going to create an array called final, which stores all the transposed letters. The order in which we want to go through the letters is row by row instead of column by column, because it's easier because we have sublists and lists. So we're going to first iterate through each sublist, and in each sublist we're going to iterate through each character. First off, we want to check if it is the last character or more, and if it is, we're going to have to break out of that. However, assuming it isn't, we're going to use something called ORD and CHR. If you don't know what these are, search it up. But basically, it's just an index of each specific letter. For example, the index of A would be 5, the index of B would be 66, and so on up to 90. So we're going to do our current position would be ORD of key Y, and our new position would be the ORD of the character we want to transpose, which is box X of Y, plus the position of the key, which is the index we want to transpose. And since both ORD box X and Y and position are higher, at least 65, we're going to have to minus 65 to get back down to that range, because if it goes over 65, there are other characters such as colons and stuff that we don't want in our final answer. Now, speaking of that, we have to define a new function called goDown, which takes the parameter of a number, and this basically checks while number is greater than 90, which is the max range our letters can go. We're going to have to reduce it by 26 because that's the number of letters in the alphabet. So we're going to return the number after that. This is because once you transpose it, and if you transpose it over, let's say your current letter is Z and you're going to transpose it 3 times, your new letter will be C. But in order to do that, we have to restart back to the start of the alphabet, which is what we're doing right here. Now, we're going to create a new variable called character, which is the index, which is the letter of goDown. new position, and we're going to add that to final. We're going to print this with no spaces, and that will be our complete function. Now all we need to do is we're going to take the key as an input, message as an input, and process message, key, message, print this. Let's check this. You already printed this here, you don't have to print that again. And then this one also works. So that's how you do this question. And it's a really simple question if you know how to efficiently sort through everything and use indexes to change it. And yeah, that's all for today's video. Thank you and subscribe.